All right, NFL aficionado fans, it's Thursday morning, 9:30 in Central Standard Time in Dallas, Texas. So I wanted to make the video to go over the predictions and try to give as much up to date as I can on where we at and things like that. So uh, again, the lines that I'm quoting here are from 9:30 Thursday morning. There was a little movement on some of them. I kind of did a preview list Wednesday morning, went over it again this morning to make sure I was as accurate as I could be. And some of the injury reports out there are still vague, but we will accommodate as, or we're predicting the games based on the information we have that I have right now. So without further ado, we'll start rocking and rolling and getting into it. Okay, Week 4 Thursday night kicks off with the Seahawks traveling to Arizona. Basically, the Cardinals are getting 1.5 in this game, which seems weird to me. I think Seattle should be favored. But hey, odds makers know more than we do, right? So, anyways, I'm going to take the Seahawks in this one. I also am going to predict them to cover the spread. I think they're playing very well. Their defense is on the rise. I love their head coach, Mike McDonald. As we know, he came from Baltimore, and he's getting that defense where he wants it. Arizona hasn't shown a whole lot as of yet. They just seem to be an average team. They seem stuck kind of in the mud. They just lost James Conner last week to a major injury. Who knows what's going on with Marvin Harrison? I mean, he was an absolute stud in college, but in the NFL, he just seems like he's a third or fourth wide receiver. Trey McBride is doing well, but basically, yeah. So Seattle to win and to cover the spread in this game. So here we go. Okay, next game we have is the game over in Ireland. The Steelers are the home team. The Vikings are the visiting team. The Steelers are getting 2.5 points in this game, which I think is accurate. The Vikings will go with Carson Wentz again in this game to start the game. From everything I read, Jordan Mason had a great time last week with Alex Jones being out. I haven't been too impressed by the Steelers. They are what I think they are. I think Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career is a pedestrian quarterback. DK Metcalf, good wide receiver, not great. And last week the Steelers defense came alive for 5 turnovers, but that was against the New England Patriots. So how much do you believe in the Patriots versus the defense? I think Brian Flores is just absolutely killing it this year with his scheme. They're seeming to buy more into it now and rock and roll from there. So we saw what they did to the Bengals last week. I think they do the same thing to the Steelers this week. I think basically that scheme and they get after Aaron Rodgers because he's not a mobile quarterback anymore. If you can rush to a spot, you can get Mr. Rodgers down on the ground. So I'm looking for the Vikings to win, and I think they win big in this game. I think this is a coming out game for them where they kind of establish themselves as, hey, everybody's looking at Detroit, everybody's looking at the Eagles, but they need to look at us as well, especially if Carson Wentz can be the game manager and just rely on his people to make plays and put the ball in the playmakers' hands. Jefferson had a good game last week. Jordan Addison comes back this week. I think that tremendously helps out their passing game and frees up Hockenson and Jefferson because you can no longer focus on one or the other. Now you've got Addison, who's a great number 2. Don't think he'll ever be a true number 1, but a great number 2. And you put him one-on-one on the outside, he can make some plays, and he's that burner to stretch the field. So I like the Vikings covering against the Steelers, but the game's in Ireland. I forget what time the game kicks off. I hate those European games, I'll be honest. I catch them on the highlights because I'm never going to get up that early to watch. But for those of us that do fantasy football, remember the fact that you do have an early start on that deal there. So just keep that in mind for your fantasy football guys if you have Vikings or if you have Steelers going in that game. So moving on to the next game. We've got the Commanders going to play Atlanta in Atlanta. Atlanta's actually getting 1.5 this week against the Commanders, which is crazy to me. Looks like Jaden Daniels is going to miss another game again. Plus Terry McLaurin, there's something going on with him, something serious. He's seeing specialists and things like that. So their offense is already hamstrung. I know Debo's kind of had a mini career resurrection this year, but I don't believe he's enough. But without McLaurin and Daniels, it's basically going to be, can the Commanders run the ball on that Atlanta defense? And I think the offense is better on Atlanta's side, and I think the defense is going to be hurting from that stinker they did last week and basically lost 30-0 to Carolina. So I think the Falcons come out mad, they come out angry, and they take it to the Commanders. And so the Falcons are my first upset pick of the week this week because they're getting the 1.5. So Falcons taking care of business at home versus Washington. All right. Now we got the next game. I mean, this is kind of the lock of the week, unless you've already picked the Bills to beat somebody else in those pick'em games where elimination deals. The Saints are traveling to Highmark Stadium for the Highmark Farewell Tour of Buffalo, and yeah, I think this is a game that Buffalo should easily dominate, be up big in the first half, and then basically in the second half, just salt the game away and run it away. The game did open up at 16.5. It's now moved down to 15.5. Milano is probably going to miss the game. Ed Oliver's going to probably miss the game. Spencer Brown didn't practice yesterday. I wouldn't be super concerned if he didn't play. To me, this is a game that, hey, let your starters sit, get healthy, and bring them back for the games you need them. Because honestly, guys, if we can beat Miami and we can beat the Jets, without our starters, without Ed Oliver and Milano, I don't see the reason to rush them back for a game against a lower tier team. To be honest, I don't even really care if Buffalo gets the spread. We just need them to get the victory, move to 4-0, and continue the good times. So we're hopefully 7-0 by the time we go see Kansas City at Buffalo. Anyways, all right. So Buffalo to win, Buffalo to cover. Even though that's a big chunk, 15.5 points to cover that spread. Moving on to the next one. This one was tough for me. So you got the Cleveland Browns going to play the Detroit Lions at Detroit. I think that does make a little bit of a difference. The game opened up at 8.5 point spread. It's now moved to 9.5 point spread. I believe that happened based on I think people are starting to buy the Lions hype. I mean, they smash mouth the Ravens big time, guys. So for me, they actually moved themselves up into a contending role for a Super Bowl. Like I said, everybody that knows has been watching the channel for a while. I had 4 teams this year: Philly, Baltimore, KC, and Buffalo as the top 4 contenders. I've now put Detroit in that based on the way they whooped up on the Bears. The Bears are the Bears, but they beat a good Ravens team in Baltimore, and they controlled that game, the entire game. I never felt Baltimore had an actual shot at winning that game. In watching it, I mean, literally, Detroit was basically just smash mouth. We're gonna punch you in the mouth, and basically we're gonna handle business, and they got it done. I mean, Montgomery had a career game. Gibbs is actually the guy that got the most carries, so I'm looking for that. However, the Browns, I believe, have the best defense in the NFL right now, by far. I think they are elite on defense, and we're just not talking about them because of that trash offense that they got going in Cleveland right now. Still trying to recover from that disastrous Deshaun Watson trade they made years ago. So, so with that being said, I am picking the Lions to win this game, but I don't think they cover the 9.5 point spread. I think that Cleveland defense gives another monumental effort and keeps the game close, and we're really going to find out, has Detroit really fixed their offensive problems and they're an elite offense, or hey, they just beat up on 2 bad defenses the past 2 weeks and they still got the same problems. But Cleveland has made every offense look bad this year. In fact, they should be 2-1, but unfortunately, in week 1 they couldn't kick a field goal to win the game. So, all right. So Detroit wins, but they don't cover the spread. So moving on to the next one. I have the Panthers. They're going to see New England, the New England Patriots. Panthers are getting 5.5 in this game, which is a little steep to me because I don't think either one of these teams are very good. So basically, I picked the Patriots to win because it's at home in New England. I think Drake May is a decent quarterback. I liked him last year, but I think that's still a work in progress. But I don't think they cover the 5.5 point spread. So Pats beat the Carolina Panthers, but they don't cover the 5.5 point spread. So pick them to go straight up. If you're going to take the points, go with Carolina and take the points. Okay, moving on. You got the Chargers traveling to the Giants. Giants getting 6.5 in this one. Be honest, this is a game the Chargers should win. I mean, it's literally on a cakewalk for them. We saw what Kansas City did to them last week. You got a rookie quarterback starting. You got Scatterbo getting a start instead of Tyrone Tracy. So basically, everything's set up for the Chargers to win and should win easily against the Giants. However, this is the one kicker. We know how terrible those West Coast teams traveling to the East Coast with a 1 o'clock kickoff time do, because it's actually 10 a.m. where they're normally from. That's the part that scares me in this game. But I'm going to believe that Harbaugh and Herbert have this together. They can get the team ready to go, and the Chargers win, and not only win, but they cover the 6.5 point spread they're getting. And the Giants have a little boost from Jackson Dart, but I don't see them. This is almost the game. There's an upset to pick this week, and we'll go back and when we do the recap video, I might be eating my words on this one, because that whole West Coast going to the East Coast 1 o'clock kickoff thing, that's a real deal. The West Coast teams just don't play great when they travel to the East Coast for such an early start. If the game was a 4 o'clock game, I feel differently about it. Hey, that's about 1 o'clock on the West Coast. That's a normal startup time. But yeah, so that's the only caveat. That's the only saving grace I see is, hey, the Giants are going to get a boost from starting Jackson Dart, and West Coast team coming to the East Coast, 1 o'clock kickoff game. So those two things I think might trip up the Chargers, but if we want to believe the Chargers are an elite team this year, a SBOB team, as first things first likes to say, then Chargers should win and cover the 6.5 point spread that they're getting over the Giants. All right, moving on to the next one. We got the Eagles traveling to Tampa Bay to play the Bucks. 2 3-0 teams, so one of the undefeated teams is going to get knocked off here in Week 4. The Bucks are just dealing with a massive amount of injuries, so many so that I just don't think they can overcome it, even though the Eagles are traveling down to Tampa. Godwin's going to be coming back, might come back from an injury. Half their offensive line is out. Tristan Wirfs may or may not play, but again, you're getting guys who haven't played in 4 weeks to start. They didn't really do anything in camp, so how effective are they going to be? And I think the Eagles are going to come in kind of with a little bravado based on the way they came back and won that Rams game at the end of the game. I think they're going to come in with a little thumping on their chest, and they're going to want to put something to it. So unfortunately, the Bucks, who's just too injured, can't bet on you this week. So picking the Eagles to beat the Bucks and cover the spread. Again, Bucks getting 3.5 in that game. So moving on, we have the Titans traveling to the Texans. The Titans are getting 7.5 in this game. Seems a little rich because both teams are terrible. The only difference is the Texans have a legit defense. I mean, I think they have an elite defense as well. It's just their offense is so terrible, nobody's talking about them. So 7.5 is rich for me based on how bad the offense is. So I'm going to pick the Texans to win straight up, but they will not cover the spread. So if you are betting the game and you're taking the points, take Tennessee and plus 7.5. But if you're just picking a straight up winner, go with the Texans. I think the Texans get it, but they don't cover the spread. Moving on to the next game, Colts going to Los Angeles, and the Colts are actually underdogs in this one. So a little disrespect there to that run. Now the Colts are the Colts. Daniel Jones has been playing great. Jonathan Taylor is off to an absolute monster start of the season. He may end up being your number 1 fantasy running back. So those of you that drafted him or have him on your team, I know you love what he's doing. And those receivers are legit. There might not be an elite receiver in that group, but Tyler Warren, Michael Pittman, Alex Pierce, they're getting it done out there in Colts land out there. And the Rams, what can you say, man? I mean, they had it all teed up to basically knock off Philly and announce that their induction into the top 6 of football teams that could win a Super Bowl this year, and then they just choked the second half away and allowed Philly to just dominate them. So in my second upset of the week, I'm picking the Colts to beat the Rams at LA. So I think the Colts are on the roll. I think they're going to run that ball. I think they're going to get after it. I think this is the game where we figure out, are the Colts for real, or are the Colts, hey, great 3-game stretch, but then when they get into a heavyweight contender, they get knocked back a step. So They beat the Broncos, who I thought was a decent contender this year. So let's see if they can get the Rams and move to 4-0, which would be an amazing accomplishment for that deal. And I'm really loving that coach out there in Indianapolis, Shane Steichen, after what he did with Jalen Hurts, and you see the slide back from Jalen Hurts. Now you're seeing Daniel Jones move up in the world and really get that good coaching. Him, Kevin McDonald, those guys are awesome QB coordinators, man. Sean McVay, same thing. Just great guys there. So Colts upset the Rams at LA. You heard it here first. Okay. All right, moving on to my next game. You got the Jaguars going to play the 49ers, another undefeated team in the 49ers. Jaguars started at 2.5, but now they moved up to 3.5, so they're getting 3.5 points in this game. A huge loss for 49ers. Nick Bosa's out for the season with a torn ACL. That's huge for that defense. I know Robert Saleh's back with the 49ers defense, which is awesome. And I believe that's his best fit right now as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. But the Niners are just banged up. And I believe the Jaguars are beginning to put things together, and they're starting to rely on the best parts of their team. And hey, we realize Trevor Lawrence may not be a top 3 quarterback, so let's take the ball out of his hands. Let's get the running game going. Etienne has been solid this season. Not going to say he's been a stud, but he's been solid this season. And Tootin is starting to begin to get that role. So you're beginning to see the makings of that 1-2 punch like he had in Tampa last year with Bucky Irving and Rashid White. Now you're starting to see it with Etienne and Tootin, and we'll see how that goes. But I think that's really starting to help things out. And then too, Trayvon Walker and Hines Allen, those ends, you're beginning to see those ends start really coming together, like you see in Houston with Hunter and Anderson. And if you can get after the quarterback, you got a good chance to win. And I believe Purdy may play in this game, still undetermined as of right now. But either quarterback I don't really love in this game. And again, losing Nick Bosa, again, how do you replace an all-pro defensive end on your You're not going to go find anybody on the side of the road or in your locker room that replaces an all-pro defensive end. So that being said, this is my third upset that I'm picking here. I'm going to take the Jaguars to beat the Niners and knock them off the undefeated wagon this week. So Jaguars beat the 49ers. I hate picking against my Niners fan out there. He knows who he is. But, man, got to do it this week. I just think the Jaguars are going to come out and say, hey, we're a solid team. And I think just the injuries are catching up with the 49ers. They were already injured coming into the season, and now they just suffered a devastating injury to their defensive line. So, all right, moving on to the next game. This game here is probably the game of the week. You got the Ravens traveling to Kansas City. The Chiefs are actually underdogs in this game. Right now, the line's at 2.5 points, which amazes me based on how the Ravens played last week. But I don't think Kansas City offense is very good. So this is a weird game for me because as much as I can't stand Patrick Mahomes, I give the man credit. No matter what, that dude's always in games. And so it's at home. They're going to be angry. They just won against the Giants. I think they're going to want to come out and prove that, hey, we are we are the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, they're playing in Chiefs Kingdom. The crowd noise is going to be insane there. And two, watching Lamar Jackson last week at home against Detroit, he looked pressured and stressed out. Now, I don't know why. You lose a heartbreaking fashion to Buffalo in week 1. You dominated the game for 3.5 quarters. So really, hey, and Buffalo's a good team. So let's not act like they lost to the Cleveland Browns. You come out, you destroy Cleveland. Wasn't the prettiest in the world, but eventually you took control and blew them out. And then last week, man, you just, for some reason, you started off the game and you just got punched in the mouth. Not sure what's happening there. And two, their best defender on their defensive line, I forget that dude's name. I'm going to butcher it as I say it. Hold on one second. Namukoi, what the hell? I wonder how you pronounce that guy's name. Nami Maduke, he's not going to play due to a neck injury. I think this is super serious because on that he helps control that defensive line and the offensive line. I think he's done for the year. Sorry, it's a neck injury. It's not going to get better throughout the season. Need to put him on IR and kind of see what happens, but the man's health is more important. I've never seen anybody come back from a neck injury and play the same season and be the same player they were because it's just too critical of an area. You know, I remember a couple years ago, I think it was 2022, Micah Hyde, second game of the season, popped his neck and went out and basically Bills didn't talk about it a whole lot, but next thing you know, he's out for the season on IR. So I think they're hoping, but we'll see. And then Kyle Van Noy may or may not play as well. So anyways, Travis Jones is out as well, so there's a lot of pieces on that defensive line for the Baltimore Ravens that look like they may be missing, which definitely helps out Kansas City. Now, let's get real, guys. I think this is a Derrick Henry game if there ever was a Derrick Henry game. I think Derrick Henry is going to be mad. I think he's going to come out. I predict 30 carries for 200 yards and 3 tubs for Derrick Henry to make up for the disastrous fumbles he's had in the regular season. And to me, I think that last week Baltimore kind of felt pressured to keep up with Detroit, so they got out of their game. They got away from Derrick Henry. And basically, I think this is a game where the Ravens come back out and reestablish their running dominance. And I just don't know if the Chiefs have the muscle and the bodies to keep up with that. Chiefs getting 2.5. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win. And I'm going to pick them to cover in this game because I think they're going to play mad coming out last week. And they got a chip on their shoulder, too, against Kansas City. I think 1-5, Lamar Jackson's all-time record against them. So I think this is one of the times where if you can't beat the Chiefs now when they're this down, then, boy, you got problems. Don't even think about coming to – you might as well – I'm going to have to remove the Ravens from the Super Bowl contention deal if the Ravens can't beat the Chiefs now with the Chiefs this down. This is kind of opposite of the Buffalo-Kansas City deal because Buffalo wins in the regular. They won 5 straight against them, 4 or 5 straight regular season victories. Obviously, everybody knows they're 4-0, 0-4 in the playoffs against Kansas City. So Buffalo plays Kansas City tough. It's just, hey, Kansas City wins in the games that actually matter in January. But this situation between Kansas City and the Ravens, this ain't a heavyweight fight where, hey, man, it's close and just, hey, the champs got lucky a couple of times and took out the contender. This is basically Kansas City has owned the Ravens, and now you're getting a beat up, hurt, wounded Kansas City team that really should be 1-3 when they walk out of the stadium. But if the Ravens lose, they might get kicked to the they're in the top 8, but there's no way they're competing with the heavyweights of the world. So the Chargers and the Chargers and the Ravens might flip on my deal there. I still don't have the Chargers as SBOB team yet. Still keeping with my 4 originals and then my 5th one coming in with Detroit, moving into the picture. So Ravens win, cover the spread. But I'm nervous about that one. Okay, moving on. We have the Bears going to LA to play the Raiders. Raiders are getting 1.5 in this game. Raiders are trash right now. Their offensive line can't block anybody. Ansha Genti can't do anything. And then other than Max Crosby on defense, there's nothing on the Raiders side of the ball that scares you at all. So I'm going to pick the Bears, hoping they build on that whooping they gave to the Cowboys. We see more maturity from Caleb Williams, and we see that offense continue to click under Ben Johnson. I think Max Crosby is going to get in there and make a couple big plays, but again, one man can't beat 11. I think Caleb is starting to figure it out. Ben Johnson is starting to figure it out and help out with the offensive deal and figure out who can do what and what trick plays and things like that work. And I think the Bears' defense is I thought it was going to be great this year, not elite great, but now they look like they're above average. I think that beats the Raiders. And plus, I think that last week they kind of got a little of their confidence and their swagger back with a couple turnovers, their sacks. So I look forward to, and as bad as that offensive line is, I look for the Bears defense to eat. So Bears win, and they cover the 1.5 points the Raiders are getting. This next game is going to be horrible. As y'all know, I live in Dallas. And I am going to absolutely love watching this game and talking to all my Dallas friends about this one, because you have the Green Bay Packers and Micah Parsons returning to Dallas to play in front of those Dallas Cowboys, that home crowd. And just think, at the start of the season, I wonder how many Dallas Micah jerseys actually show up at this game as a slap to Jerry Jones. You know, before the debacle last week in Cleveland, I believe the Pack were probably the best team in the NFL. Losing to Cleveland knocks you out of that conversation. I'm still not sold on Jordan Love. Again, I think he had a great 10-game stretch. I think it was the end of 22. And he flipped that into a major contract because the Packers sat on him for 3 years and basically had to make a decision and said, we're going to buy that 10 games if that's who you are. I think he's regressed since then. And he doesn't look like he's definitely not a top 5. I struggle to put him in the top 10 because he just hasn't shown me that he is an elite quarterback. He's like a serviceable starter. Hey, you're good. Jordan Love is, to me, this generation's Kirk Cousins. He'll get you to the playoffs, but that's as far as you're going with him. So Cowboys, no CeeDee Lamb going to play in the game. That defense is already trash beyond belief. So what I see happening is I see a major deal where Mr. Micah, I see 3 sacks from Micah Parsons, and I see 150 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns going for Josh Jacobs. So that's what I kind of see. That's where I see things happening. So the Cowboys are getting 6.5 in this game. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to put a 50 burger on the Cowboys, and I don't see any offense coming out of the Cowboys at all, man. No CD. Jake Ferguson's going to have 12 catches for 80 yards, but no touchdowns. You know, so it kind of goes that way there. So, anyways, all right, Cowboys beat the brakes off, the Packers beat the brakes off the Cowboys. You heard it here. Take it to the bank. Bet the farm on it, and I hope I'm right, and you're collecting big money on that deal. All right, my last upset of the week here. You got the Jets traveling to Miami to play them. Haven't seen anything on Justin Fields playing. If he plays, I like this guy. I think the line will swing to the Jets, but being it hasn't yet, we're going with, hey, Tyrod Taylor still be the deal. But I think the Jets are the better overall team. I think last week Miami gave a tough rah-rah, zis-boom-bah approach for their coach. They like him, but ultimately I just think that the Dolphins are a bad team this year. They're racing towards a top 5 pick in the draft this year. Tua will probably be gone. McDaniel will probably be gone. That GM will probably be gone. In fact, I think the Jets blow out the Dolphins, and we thought we were going to see McDaniel get fired last week. I think he gets fired this week, and the Jets just blow out the Dolphins. So Jets getting the upset over the Dolphins. They're getting 2.5 in the points. Okay, last game of the week. You got the Bengals traveling to Denver to play the Broncos. Man, we just saw what that Vikings defense did to that Bengals offense. I think the Broncos defense is going to do even worse damage to that Bengals offense. So, Bengals getting 7.5 points. I think it would be a double-digit spread if Bo Nix and that offense could figure out what the hell they're doing, but they're not. So, anyways, Broncos, I don't see any reason why they lose this one unless they just fart. It's at help. You got the better defense. You got the better offense. The Bengals are reeling. That Jake Browning we saw back in 2022, 2023, when he played 500 ball, that dude, I don't know where he went, but, man, he looked absolutely terrible and lost against the Vikings. And I think the Broncos are a better defense than the Vikings. So, Broncos win, and Broncos win easily. So, okay, so that's my picks for the week. I got 4 upsets. Falcons upset the Commanders. The Colts upset the Rams. The Jags upset the 49ers. The Jets upset the Dolphins. Okay, the 3 teams I think that are going to win but not cover. You got the Texans. I think they don't cover the 7.5 that the Titans are getting. The Lions, I picked them to win, but I don't think they're going to cover the 9.5 that the Browns are getting. And the Patriots, I picked them. Really, those are just 2 bad teams. So 5.5 points seems a lot for them to cover against Carolina, being Carolina put up those 30 points last week against a decent defense in the Falcons, okay? So there's my week 4 predictions. I hope everybody does well. I want to continue to build on my straight up picks. I need to improve upon my spreads. Overall for the season, on straight ups, I'm 30-18. Against the spread, I'm 20-25. So again, do pretty well on straight up. Winners don't do so well against the points, but we're going to work on that throughout the season. So, all right, NFL aficionado fans, good luck this week. Hopefully you're ringing in the jingling in your pocketbooks and making some solid good bets. Let me know of some big bets and some big winners you had, and let me know what you think about my picks and if you like them, if you don't like them, and who you think I'm wrong on, and where you would adjust that. So as always, people, have a blessed day, have a good weekend, and we'll do the recap video on Tuesday. As always, talk to you later. Bye.